Morning, Deirdre.
Good morning, Tom. How are you today?
I'm still smiling from just where you and I were a few seconds ago about what we're going to do today.
Triumphing over this technology that's not working.
Like,
Our listeners
Deirdre, you're
should
supposed to be
know.
the expert here. What are you talking about triumphing?
But that's what our listeners should hear, that we are experts in this. We teach others how to do this. And we have been fighting with technology for the past 15 minutes trying to get it
So,
to
Deirdre,
work.
I would say we've become experts at railing on Zoom, right? Even though we love Zoom, but it's that love-hate relationship when you have something that you're probably too familiar with. So, and look, we love it. It does our job for us. We enjoy paying the money. It's that love-hate relationship with sometimes too familiarity.
Agreed. Yes.
Too much familiarity. Okay.
Correct.
Anyway, let's get on to things here. I don't mean to inflame the situation, but it is 73 degrees. My door is open. The sun is out. It's clear. A little bit of breeze, so it's got a little chill in the air.
Well, it's actually above freezing today. And then tomorrow we're getting thunderstorms. I
Oh
mean,
no, are you
you figure
serious?
out, which is going to melt all the snow flooding the roads. So you figure out this weather here.
Yes, as somebody was saying in a tweet to me this morning, they were going back and forth and they said, I think the direct quote was New England weather is interesting.
Interesting indeed. Yes, you never know from day to day what will happen.
That's for sure. Um, all right. So I think what you've done is you've brought a problem and actually your desktop, not a laptop, but we're going to dig through using a couple of different LLMs with both synthesis capability and the reasoning models to do a piece of work, collaborative with you. And what I'm going to do is you and I'll go through this. You're pretending like you don't know how to do this.
Correct.
You're, we're going to take Grok and Claude as our two models. And by the way, we're going to use my versions of this, and the reason is because I'm professional on both. You only have professional on Claude. You don't need it on Grok, but I do. So we've got it on both. So we're going to use mine, and I'm going to let you tell me what you'd like to prompt, and I'll put it in for you. But we're going to work our way through you uh, developing a familiarity with using these models as a thought partner for what I call complex leadership work. Okay.
Mhm.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the project that you'd like to work on, and then we'll work our way through this.
Okay, first, about two sentences of context for our listeners. This is our video 71 3B. That in the 71 series, we're showing how companies, particularly a CEO and a board chair, don't know how to use this AI to do anything but the basic functions like search, for example, or like writing a simple document. So what we talked about in our previous video is that if the board chair and CEO don't even understand how these models work, they can't proceed with developing a strategy. So what we're doing here is taking you through what I'll call an advanced problem, a slightly advanced problem beyond the basics search and creating a document, just to give you more of a sense of how to use these tools to create something that's usable in business beyond the basics. So
Yes.
sorry, step back and now move
Not at
forward.
all. Not at all.
Okay.
It's consistent with what we were talking about the other day for complex leadership work. We have developed a five-step process, and we'll essentially go through that five-step process.
Mhm.
So why don't we do this, Deirdre? We're periodically, you and I are going to take a break, and I'm going to stop the recording as we get the technology set up for everybody so that we don't waste their time while we're
Right,
putting everything up. So we're
right.
going to take a momentary break, and we'll be right back. Deirdre, you should be able to see this five-step process.
I do see the five-step process.
Now, we covered this in our prior video, the 71.3a, the
Yes.
first of the fundamentals, where we talked about this five-step process involves research, interaction, context, synthesis, and finalizing. And what that's about is where the first thing we try to do is to understand what's the capability of the model and what is the model telling us? We're looking at breadth, we're looking at depth. We're also looking at is the what the bias in the answers are. The bias may be they don't have full knowledge, or they have only full knowledge, and let's say they only have full knowledge really about the spring. They don't spend much time on the winter, where another model might spend time on all seasons of the year, if that were what you're looking at. And you can tell that by just asking the right kinds of questions. So the first thing you're trying to do in step one is to research the model. The second is to begin that interaction when you start guiding the model towards somewhere you want it to be. Then in third is where you actually will take something of your own, and you will now give that to the model and say, now incorporate what I'm giving you with what you've just found and do the fourth step, which is to synthesize it, do a compare and contrast, or look for weaknesses compared to the marketplace. Whatever the purpose of your high level leadership work is, and then ultimately to give you something you can then work with to do the finalization, which is where you personally take it now and you make it your own. You now shape it and you put it into a form that represents, what you have brought, what you want the outcome to be. Because what you've done is you've based it all on with a fundamental of your knowledge, your context, number three there, and you've been shaping the model all the way through. You haven't let the model just answer a question and deliver something to you, and then you take and represent that as your own. When you do that, you kind of skip all of the first steps, and you're really just doing a four and five, really, and letting the machine do five for you instead of you doing it. So you're shortcutting not only the work that you're doing, but you're also shortcutting the whole point behind using a very powerful research, analytic, and synthesis tool that you add your creativity to and your leadership to, and ultimately your finalization, your management, your finalization of it. So before I come off this slide, Deirdre, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I think you've covered it well, Tom. And I think that as we go through the rest of this video, people will understand more about each of the five steps.
Great. So we're going to start with number one. So
Okay.
this is the research phase. And this is where what we're doing is we're trying to understand the model. Um, and I'm guessing, Deirdre, you tell me, if this were now in your hands, would you start out with Claude or would you start out with Grok?
I think I would start out with Claude. And
Okay.
part of that is just I'm more familiar with Claude. And also that at this beginning here, I'm not doing the in-depth research that Grok is really best at among the models we've found. Claude is certainly able to do the research at the level that I'm going to need, and it's also a little more friendly about it.
Understood. Understood. Makes sense. So we will share my screen and I'm going to pull up the browser that has Claude in it. And you should be able to see this, Deirdre.
I see that you're thinking, yes.
That's that's a stretch at the moment. Now, as you all know, if you use Claude or even most of the models these days have an ability to share various aspects. This is your chats. This is the recent chats, and you'll see what I've done recently. But I want to start here with something called projects. And I'll move this menu back so that we can start looking at these projects. But uh, you can see that I have pretty much keep a project for almost everything, including I have one, you can't see it, but it's further down where it's general research. So if I ask a general question, I do this just so I've got some organization to the work I'm doing. We're not going to search, we're going to create a new project. So Deirdre, what would you like to title this new project?
Deirdre's book.
Uh, which book?
Book.
There are a number of books,
Oh,
Deirdre.
there are the content book.
Okay, got it. All right. So now you can put in what are you trying to achieve? That I don't know. Let me put it this way. We'll describe that in what we're doing. All right. So at this point, we don't have any instructions here from Deirdre on style or any of these things. We haven't put in place any files yet for context. Now, the question is, Deirdre, before we start out, do you want to put any style or method instructions, general instructions in, and do you want to put any research materials in or your bio in or any of these things? So before we get started, what would you like to do?
All right. In terms of instructions, because Claude is going to be generating a product that only I will use, that is, it's not going to go farther. And I'm going to take the information there and convert it into something else. Then I don't think we need any instructions in terms of style, a format, or anything like that. So none of those. Now, in terms of the files, I have sent you 3 files from my book. And I should tell listeners that I have written this book. It's 125 pages, and the title is Using Content to Grow Your Business. And I have sent Tom 3 things. I've sent a table of contents, I've sent an introduction, and I've sent chapter 1. It will help, I think, to upload those three files.
It will. Um, so let me just say, I would recommend at this point that you don't need any style instructions, Deirdre, in
No.
instructions, but I would encourage you to put in work process instructions. And the reason why is that this is a way to have Claude work with you in a way that you like to be worked with. Not, uh, we're not telling them to write things in a certain way or whatever. We're saying, here's how I prefer to work. Now, uh, I think it helps to do that. So why don't we just take a break for a second and I want to go get your files and I'll tell you what I think about doing that. And then secondly, I'll get you the kind of instructions that I use, and then you can decide if there are any in there that you would like to adopt just to get started on the research phase. Okay?
Okay, very
All right,
good.
we'll be right back. All right, so we should be back at Claude now.
Yes.
And let's go into instructions. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in what is part 2 of mine, which we'll call part 1 for you. All right.
Okay.
Now, let me read you another one. Uh, part 3 for me is called critical thinking. And then I say the following: for most things, and then I have 3 bullet points. Please point out any logical inconsistencies or gaps you see in what we're working on. 2, please provide your initial recommendation. 3, along with pros and cons, as well as likes and dislikes, as appropriate.
Let's include all of those. You
Okay.
see, these are things I would not have thought of adding myself, but since you're suggesting them, I can see the validity of these points. So let's see what comes out.
Okay. Now, the third one, and this gets into some interesting ones, Deirdre, that you may or may not want to include. So I say, where appropriate for the work, please provide a confidence interval. Please provide your strongest case for and against whatever recommendation you make. Please provide changes that would improve the confidence interval, along with pros and cons of doing so. Then ultimately give me your summary risk adjusted final recommendation. And then
You
I say something that I think really helps. It's now finally, please summarize your work at appropriate points in the process. Now, I say, but before you start your work, please ask any clarifying questions you may have, and I'll do my best to answer.
Tom, let's include all of those for a reason. That my guess is that Claude and I are going to have some conversation here to get on the same
Really, to get
wavelength.
some.
Because it's going to see the book that I've written, and this will come out in the conversation, is different from a lot of books on the market. And Claude may want to try to move me in the direction of the other books. And I'm going to have to keep it from doing that. The reason that I want to have these questions in there is so that our viewers can see how you have to interact with Claude to get the product that you need.
So I find it helpful to always put a date on these things. And obviously, I'm thinking way in the future, 29,
Right. I
25.
was thinking star date, yes.
Yeah, we're start date, yes. I find it's helpful because it tells me when was the last time I updated this if I
Correct.
come back in here, because frequently I change these. I modify them a little bit because they're not coming through. That's what I usually put in here, Deirdre, except I put in my own style guide, which we're not doing today for you. You're
Right.
okay with this at this point?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So now you'll see right here, it says, here's my date, and it tells you a little about what we're asking. So there,
Yes.
it's in there ready to go. Now, I encourage you at this point, I would not load any files in here yet, except rough contextual files, meaning your bio, for example, so it knows who they're dealing with. Is your bio in the book?
Um, I don't have
Shame
it in the
on
book.
you.
I don't have it in the book yet. This is draft, but it will be. Um,
All
but
right, we're going to go get a bio for you
okay.
because it needs to know who you are so that
Okay.
it knows who it's dealing with.
Okay.
Um, and so we're going to take another break. We'll be right back. We're back.
We're back.
We're back. All right, so let's go back to Claude. And we
Okay.
are going to, let me make sure Claude is pulled up here in the background so that it will actually let me share Claude.
Right. While you're doing that, we'll just mention that what we were chatting about while you were finding my biography is that this is actually a lesson in how you have to gather materials to have
Mhm.
a productive conversation with one of these models. You don't just go in and start typing. You have to think through to get the optimum from your interactions with the model.
Yeah, to get the result you want, you do. So I'm going to add this as another file, and I'm going to add this one again as a text context, excuse me, content. just be aware it when you add it as a text content, it indexes that quicker. When you put it up in a PDF or a docx file or whatever you're using, it takes it longer to index. And I was mentioning to Deirdre, I was doing something the other day, took about 40 minutes to index all the material I gave it to help me in actually to helping us write the other book that we're doing. It's the content to help them do that. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to add it as a text file, and I'm going to take your bio. Now this is in January, so I can change that to now 50 years, I think, right, Deirdre? Oh no,
So,
I'm not going to do that to
yes.
you. Okay, name your content. This is Deirdre's bio. Oops. I can't spell. Wow, it's going to be one day like that at the keyboard today. I can tell already. Okay, so here we are. And it says 17 lines. I've got Deirdre's bio. Now, be aware that if you click this right here, it will delete this. This also tells you exactly what the file is. It says text, meaning it is native text in text file. And it shows you there's 1% of capacity used. I'm doubting it's 1%. It's got to be a lot less than that
Right.
because I loaded it up with a huge amount and I was sitting at about 19% of capacity of what it can take. But again, just be aware the more you put in, the more time you need the model to be able to have to scan everything deeply and learn from what you've put in there. And it will tell you if you ask it, how much time do you need to have to properly be able to review all the materials I've loaded in files. It will actually tell you, can I have a 40-minute break or can I have a 45-minute break or whatever? Unless you put nothing up there and then it won't take a break at all. All right, so not quite ready yet because I think it's helpful at this stage. First of all, it's too easy to hit the enter button. And when you hit the enter button, I haven't got Claude configured to not fire away unless I hit the orange arrow. I don't know that that's an option yet. I know in Grok it is that I have to actually touch the arrow to be able to load it, so I can hit enter all day long. But you lose a lot of time and you lose a lot of productivity. I think it's better to do your prompting separate and separate from this, at least at first, for the first prompt. Then you can usually go from there and just straight into chat because you're going to be interacting with the model. So with that said, Deirdre, I'm going to pull up a blank note pad here and then let you take from there and you see the best way to do this. So I'm going to take a break for a second and get you a notepad that you can then dictate that first prompt that we can develop. From there, we'll then move into getting the model going. But as you see, we'll take a good half hour probably getting the model ready before we actually begin. I find that's the most appropriate way. And then your time using the model is really reduced and improved. So, with that, I'm going to take a break for just a second. So, we're back. Deirdre, I'm going to share a notepad and then I'm going to have you take and dictate out the note that you'd like me to, the prompts you'd like me to use for this. So, how do you want to start out here?
Hello, Claude. I am writing a book. I am writing a book on using content to grow a business. By content, I mean written documents, visual documents, audio files, and any other input that helps to define what is happening in a business. And I'll just comment, Tom, that we've found it very useful to always be aware when you have to define a term that you're using. If we just asked it about content, heaven knows what it would do. I'm giving it a definition of content here. So, and now continuing with the note, I want to find out about competing books and videos that discuss this topic. I want to find out if I need to add material to my book or delete topics. I want to find out how these books and videos are marketed to the audiences.
To which audiences, Deirdre?
To their audiences, because it'll be different audiences. And then finally, I want to develop a marketing plan for my book. And just to comment to listeners, you see that this is a higher level topic beyond the basic search, beyond the basic draft a document. I'm asking Claude to solve a problem for me, and I'm asking it to do competitive analysis work that would take me an awfully long time to do. So, any comments on my comments, Tom?
Yeah, so I think it's usually helpful to, and again, this is more for yourself, for being able to go back and figure out, have I done the right job? So what I like to do here is once I've done this, I like to take and I like to organize it first about the help I need. Okay.
Okay.
Then context.
Okay.
Okay. So is this the help you want from Claude?
Yes, it is.
And is this the enough context for it?
Well, I think eventually when we upload the files that I sent you, the table of contents, the introduction, and chapter one, will provide more input that will help Claude. But maybe that comes after Claude does some initial research.
Yeah, if you think about the 5 steps, we don't want to pollute Claude with your material yet. We want to learn, what does Claude know about this? And
Correct.
how much, and so that when we're asking it to synthesize your material with its finding, we know what is its work versus what is your work. And then
Correct.
it can make a distinction of what is your unique work that it's determining that the marketplace doesn't have, for example. Now,
Correct.
um, so I think it also, for your own benefit, I usually like to put these down as separate items, um, because when you do that, you can go back and refer to, well, you didn't really answer number 3 above to my satisfaction.
Hmm.
And sometimes it actually, depending on the answer it gives you, it will actually refer to, you know, point one, point two, point three.
Right.
So if I look at that from the starting point, does that represent what you want? You want competition, you want some critique about the material. Now it's going to say, um, I haven't seen your book yet,
Right,
right? So it's not going to know this because we haven't put those in yet,
right.
right? So how can we then change this, Deirdre, to more of a I would like to find out what exists in the marketplace on books and videos that cover the topic of blank.
Yes,
Okay. So rewrite that sentence for me.
I want to find out about books and videos that discuss using content to market businesses.
Now, do I need more than that?
Well, I don't think so because we're just talking about the help I need. The context covers the what I mean by content.
But it's going to go out and start searching for books about content marketing, right?
Correct.
Is this enough of a qualification about content
Well,
marketing?
then, in effect, really, the second sentence in what you have as context should move up to be part of that number one. Down below, where it says, by content, I mean written documents, visual documents.
Got it. So this should really be a modifier up here.
Don't you think?
Uh-huh. Is
Don't
there
you?
any other modifier that you should add to this to help it understand what you're talking about?
Not right now. Remember, this is my first search. I want a pretty broad first search,
Okay.
I
Okay.
think.
Now remember, we've said if you don't have enough knowledge, come back. If you're at all need some clarifying questions, come out back. So my guess is you're probably going to get a question about that, which is fine. Then you can answer that question because you'll know exactly what it's thinking, right?
Correct.
Um, Now I think number two doesn't work yet, right?
Right.
Okay. Now number three does work though.
Yes.
Okay. And okay, so this doesn't really work yet,
Hmm.
but um, you could, along those lines, say, I would like to understand best practices for developing a marketing plan for a book.
That might be part of context, do you think?
Well, you're trying to get what you're trying to do is you're saying you're doing all this research on the books themselves. This is really more a style question for you. Do we even want to introduce the idea of marketing plan yet?
Probably not.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And it took me a minute to think about, what are we doing here? Because we want to learn about what does the model know about this. So I'm writing a book on using content to grow a business, or I have written a book on
Correct.
that I'm getting ready to publish.
Yes.
That it's publishing, I'm going to say in January.
Okay. Which is true. Um,
Well, if I get off my yes and do some work on my side.
right. And again, for our listeners, what we're doing as we're going slowly through this is pointing out how the language and amount of information you give the models will affect the output that you get from the models.
Right, because we want to then use this and not have this go off in a direction that is unproductive, right? We want this to go in a
Correct.
productive direction for us as we're heading towards getting to what you want to get to. So now what this is going to do is we're going to ask it to look at the marketplace for books find out about these things, these written documents, audio files, and any input that helps define what a business happening in a business. Find out what are those books out there and the videos. So, do you want to give any qualification? Do you want to find out about the top books or the most compelling or the most insightful, or do you just want to leave it open?
Well, that's a value judgment that I don't think Claude can make. So I think we let it go. What I might do is at the end of number one there, and any other input that helps to define what is happening in marketing a business.
That helps
Define how businesses are marketed.
how how content businesses.
And it's not content businesses.
Okay.
It's any business can use content for marketing. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, does that represent your ask?
Yes, I think it does.
And then you want to
Actually,
find out how those books are marketed to their audiences.
correct.
Okay. Now, what other context do you want it to have?
Give me some ideas about what to
I
include
would
in
say that
context.
that is the reason why I'm asking this question.
Okay.
And it's probably going to come back and say, well, it would help me if you tell me what you've done. And we're going to
Okay.
say, you know what? We'd actually like to find out before we do that, we'd like to find out what you see in the marketplace.
Right.
Okay. So I think you can put that this way. One, I've written a book on using content to grow a business. That's the reason I'm asking the question. Number two is, um, I would like before I give you the book as a reference, I'd like to know what you see in the marketplace.
Okay.
So I'm going to say as reference material for you, I'd like to know what you see in the marketplace. Any other
Yes.
context, Deirdre?
No, not unless we put in there what we're aiming for. And but you said that's something we cover later. That is
You can do it here. Um, it's likely to say, well, then you should load up your book, right?
okay. Then let's
Um,
stop here because remember in the five steps, we're still at the reference step, number
right.
one.
We're still trying to find out what it knows without really telling it what you know,
Correct.
right? So now I think for those of you that haven't done it this way, again, you may choose not to do it like this. I prefer this because it doesn't, you don't get caught up with having the model run ahead of you. As we say, probably one of the most important things you can do is what we call stay ahead of the model. And the way you stay ahead of the model is by making sure that you always know where you're going, uh, and know and anticipate where they're going. So what you're seeing us do here is we're using the premise of or the thought process of staying ahead of the model. And then secondly, Deirdre, we're using the idea of treating the model almost like a person. And I know there's a big divide in the tech world today of, you've got Sam Altman saying, don't waste my cycles, treating it like a person and being nice to it and so forth. And I'm saying the opposite, or you and I are saying the opposite. We're saying, no, treat it like a person. Now, why do we say that? Because if you're truly going to treat the model as a thought partner, as a partner in achieving complex leadership work, it's helpful for you to use your leadership characteristics of influence and figuring out what do you say, how do you say it, how do you inform somebody, what do you expect, because that's how you treat any employee. And you don't just treat them brusquely and tell them to, just do this. You change. Now, why does that happen? Because it changes the way you deal with the subject. And I want this to be no different if I were doing this with a smart graduate student who just graduated, and using the analogy we frequently use, who has very little experience in the marketplace but has incredible capacity, credible range, and incredible capacity. And so treating it in this way, it's the same way you would do that a person like that, an intern or an associate to what you're doing. And that way, you're using your leadership skills and you're continuing to hone them in how you're doing this. Now, this didn't come through here, but I'm just making sure this all looks right. Okay, Deirdre, is that where you want to start?
That's where I want to start.
Okay. Now, remember what it's going to do. It's going to go in, and if it's doing its thing properly, you have given it some instructions on how you want it to function, right?
Yes.
So let's see how it does against those instructions. All right. So for those of you that are listening instead of watching, uh, so what's the screen telling you, Deirdre?
It's telling me that yes, it can help me, but it does have some questions. It wants to narrow the search. It's asking me if I'm looking for any particular audience segments, and it mentions entrepreneurs, small businesses, enterprise companies, specific industries. And my answer back to it will
So hang
be,
on. We'll get to there because we have to write that out, right?
okay. Then it wants me to know if I want to focus on recent publications, say the
Mhm.
last 3 years, or cast a wider net. And then three, am I interested in mainstream and popular resources and academic professional approaches, or just one or the other?
Yeah.
About marketing analysis, it wants to know when I say how these books, videos are marketed, am I most interested in distribution channels, marketing tactics, positioning, messaging strategies, pricing models, all of the above? And then also, are there any particular authors, creators, or approaches? So I'm ready to provide an answer to Claude.
Okay. Now, then it says, once you clarify these points, I'll do comprehensive research and give you a structured overview with my analysis of what's working in the market, plus any gaps or opportunities I notice. Okay, that's not bad. So
That's
now I
good.
think, again, this is a good example of where I would take its questions and copy them into a prompt page, back to your prompt page. So I'm going to come back over to that prompt page. So bear with me while I stop this share.
And while you're doing that, Tom, I'll comment that these are good questions.
Okay. That's a positive thing, Deirdre.
Yes.
It is a positive thing. Okay, so now we're at the stage and here's what I prefer to do. I actually like to comment about every single question they ask at this point,
Yes.
and even if it's please ignore this point.
Okay.
Okay. And so and again, I like doing this outside of Claude only because you're still in the complex writing stage. And now, once we do this, we'll likely not come out anymore for prompts unless we're asked to answer lengthy questions. Now, what I do here is I take a step and then I do something like this and then write the answer.
Okay. My
So, how
answer.
would you like to answer this first question? Let me say the question to you, Deirdre, and I'll let you write it back. Are you looking for resources aimed at a particular audience segments or any particular audience segments? Entrepreneurs, small business, enterprise, specific industries.
And my answer is let's focus on entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Okay, done. So, question two. So, what they're asking here is the following. Do you want me to focus on recent publications, say last 2 to 3 years, or cast a wider net?
The answer is the last 3 years.
Okay, bear with me for a second here. I didn't do this quite right up here because I usually like to actually have that be a separate line. But again, this is more for us as users of this so that we know what we're doing about this early work. We see how we've influenced it. Okay, here's the next one. Are you interested in both mainstream slash popular resources and academic professional, or should I focus on one or the other?
I am interested in mainstream and professional approaches. See,
Okay.
I'm not interested in the popular or the academic, so I'm
Okay.
picking
So let me just say that not popular or academic.
correct.
Okay. Now it says about marketing analysis. When you say how these books or videos are marketed, are you more interested in one, distribution channels they use, Amazon Direct, of course, the course platforms, etc.
Yes,
Okay. Marketing tactics, social media, um,
yes,
email, speaking, partnerships.
yes,
Okay. Positioning, messaging, strategies, how they differentiate themselves.
yes.
Deirdre, was this guy reading or this woman reading your book?
Could have been, yes. Now I'm going
Early
to
copies.
not be interested, no on pricing models.
Okay. Um, and I'm going to now, again, just for some completeness, again, for ourselves, I'm going to say exceptions noted above.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now we have answered these questions. And I'm going to cut and paste the or copy and paste this and put this back into Claude. And it would help if I'd share the screen. Where's my Zoom? There we go. Okay. You should be able to see the chat,
Yes.
and I've answered there. Now, what I'll say is up here, um, so you see what I wrote here, Deirdre. I said, I've
Yes.
inserted my answers below. Okay.
Yes.
And so I'll take that phrase out. So it's just giving them the question and then the answer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, let's see how long this takes because this can be interesting.
Give me a few minutes to search and analyze what I find.
Okay.
And now it's searching.
This is like watching grass grow. What is it saying now,
But we
Deirdre?
can make a few points for our listeners right now that we went into more detail, I think, than most people I've seen when trying to work with a model like this. We've found, Tom, generally that the more input you give these models, the better results you want. It's the old garbage in, garbage out theory
Absolutely.
that if you provide good information, you get good information back.
And it comes back in a much more professional way. You see what it said here. Give me a few minutes. Then it said, I'm searching information on authors who market themselves. Then it's talking about information about Anne Handley and her approach. And I've thought some other things. Okay. So now here's what it's saying, Deirdre. It's saying what I found in the marketplace. It talks about key books, and I'll let you take and narrate what we've found here.
Okay, it's talking about what it found in the marketplace and it's listing some key books. It's giving author's name, name of title, year published, and then about 4 or 5 bullet points discussing what's in each book. And that's actually about the level of depth that I want from Claude at this time. I want to know how many books are out there, what they're focused on, what their core. Now, for each of them, it has a core approach, a focus, a target audience, a unique angle, and any further information that I might need. For example, in the one I'm looking at, its core approach is a practical writing guide. Its focus is email newsletters. Its target audience is marketers. Its unique angle is emphasis on bringing personal voice into business writing, and it's newsletter focused. This is very good information for me to have.
Yeah. And it gives you some notable mentions. It gives you 4 books there. And then it starts with online courses and video content.
Correct.
Talks about HubSpot Academy, the Direct Marketing Institute courses.
Coursera. Yes.
Then how they market these
Correct.
resources. Talks about the distribution channels,
Right.
traditional publishing, core platforms. Talks about the tactics, speaking, conferences, content marketing. They practice what they preach, newsletters, podcasts, blogs, articles, social media, partnerships and affiliations. And it talks about those key book authors and then who they're affiliated with.
Correct. Again, this is all really good information, very useful information. This is the sort of thing it would take me a couple of days to go out and research myself. And here Claude's coming up with it. How they differentiate, this is a big factor for marketing.
You
Uh,
talk also about book launching strategies.
yes,
Um, then it talks about positioning, and it takes each one of the key authors and then talks about the position, differentiator, proof, and tagline approach.
right.
Um,
And then it goes into its own observations and analysis.
right.
Books focus on strategy theory, limited focus on small service businesses, heavy B2B emphasis, professional services underserved, and the how to actually write gap. Now that's very interesting.
So look at this. Anne Handley fills it, but most books assume writing ability.
Correct, which is a big assumption. Let's just put it at that. But what
Absolutely.
I'm seeing here is my book focuses on, well, all right, let's keep going through this. What's working? Uh, Having the author having a personal brand, multiple touch points. Well, we know that. That's how marketing is done these days through multiple proof through practice, community creation, creating communities around their books, regular updates and a free and paid model. Again, good information. Um,
Talks
content,
about market momentum.
correct. And what AI is the new frontier. That's very interesting that all of these books, the latest edition of the books, mention some of the AI tools. Um, Newsletter renaissance, email newsletters are experiencing resurgence. And that's something that's very interesting. Some things that people said would go away are actually coming back because they're useful.
Okay.
And now Claude's asking me some questions before it moves forward on its analysis.
All
So
right. The first question it's asking is, how does your book approach differ from these? So it can identify unique positioning. What's your target reader? Biggest struggle, so I can see where you fit in the market gaps. Do you plan to build an ecosystem around the book, courses, speaking, consulting, or the book? Is it a standalone book? And then what marketing assets and platforms do you currently have? Newsletter list, speaking history, so forth. Then it says, once I understand your book's unique angle and your existing platform, I can provide more targeted recommendations on positioning and on the marketing strategy. Now, what's it saying now?
shall I upload your book reference material? It wants those files, Tom.
Yes, it does. Now, we've already spent an hour on this and a little more, Deirdre, probably an hour and 20 minutes. I suggest that we stop here because everybody's now learned if you prompt a model like this, you can, if you've taken your time, you've just done a pretty good market dive on a handful of questions that weren't really specific, very specific.
Absolutely correct. And it gave me some information I did not expect. It gave me actually, I don't want to say it's enough by any means because we can get a lot more out of Claude. And this is video 71-3B. We're always plan to do a 71-3C. So we'll pick this up in 3C, which we're going to film and release before the end of the year here. But what it's done here is anyone who's dealt in marketing and communications knows that the information I've already gotten out of Claude is almost enough for me to proceed with creating a marketing plan myself. Now, in 3C, I'm going to ask Claude to create a marketing plan for me.
Yes.
After doing a little, taking a look at what I've created, doing a little more thinking about certain points, and then we'll see what Claude creates in terms of a marketing program for me. But this is very good. I do want to make one comment before we leave, Tom, and that is it interested me that there wasn't much out there
Yeah, I
in
was
the past
surprised too.
few years. Only about 5 books, only about 3 education platforms. So, what this tells me about my marketplace is that if I position this right and meet the need in the marketplace, which I think Claude has identified, and we can go into this more when we regather to create 3C, then I have a chance of getting people to really read my book, which is very interesting. That's great information to have.
What we're going to want to do is anybody that is seeing this is going to anticipate. We're going to ask it to do a compare and contrast,
Correct.
and it will come up with those same attributes. What's your strength? How does that cover this gap? And then it will also, based on the work process, remember we said, what's your confidence interval that your recommendations are good? Then come back and tell us what you'd change to improve them. We'll get some sense about what it thinks that you could do with your book to actually make it better from its point of view. Now we call that a biased point of view
Right.
because it has a point of view. Now, whether that suits you or not is a whole different issue, and whether that's fitting in what you want to achieve. But I'm going to make you and the audience wait because I want to actually we'll take the next step, and I'll actually load these up so we don't waste our time. I'll have it index these things because that usually takes a long time also.
Correct.
But we'll have that ready. And so when we start the next video, the follow on to this, which will be 71 3C, we will then learn how it sees your book, how it sees the marketplace's books, how it compares and contrasts them, and how it would reposition you to have strength and a unique, strong voice in the marketplace if it needs to do that at all, or how to highlight a certain aspect in what you're doing. Then put a marketing plan together for you.
Correct. And in a way, the questions we'll ask in 3C will take Claude further into higher level work.
Absolutely.
This was a basic what's out there in the marketplace. This is your basic competitive information analysis, which is excellent. Everyone has to do this. And now we're taking it further and saying, okay, now how do I take what I've created and position it vis-a-vis these, which is a different level of thinking. And we'll see how well Claude does with this. I'll be very interested to see.
I bet you will. Um, but it will be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. So
Me too.
it's always a pleasure, Deirdre.
Always a pleasure, Tom. So long.